symbols on the ceiling.
Any advice for the living now that you've passed on?
Let's go.
I don't think many people know this about me, but in my early 20s, I was absolutely obsessed with ghost hunting. My friend Mike Valentine and I sought out every haunted place in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that we could. We explored abandoned nursing homes, supposedly haunted shacks, and even dilapidated mansions way outside of Dallas. And we were even open to going into people's houses who had lost family members and wanted us to see if their loved ones were still around in some ghostly way. But even after years of ghost hunting adventures and only finding small pieces of evidence to support the afterlife, I still remain fascinated by them and also puzzled. In today's video, we're gonna explore the idea of ghosts and hauntings. And not only that, but we're gonna travel back in the past about 10 to 15 years ago when I myself was a novice paranormal researcher going to all sorts of crazy places to try and find out if ghosts actually exist. A part of my life that I've actually never shared on this channel before. On top of that, we're also gonna go on an actual ghost hunt together into a graveyard that is supposedly super haunted up in the Rocky Mountains, and we're gonna be joined by my friend, YouTuber, and also awesome realtor here in the Colorado area, Sean Murphy. If you haven't checked him out before, I'm gonna leave his information down in the description below. But let's get to the topic at hand and the question that we've all been asking ourselves our entire lives, which is, do ghosts even exist? Well, let's go find out.
You'll be really creepy. Set the camera down. What is that?
So what you just saw was an old video from an old SD card on an old camera from back in 2010. The shadow that we saw that I circled in the video was actually just a shadow that was made from my camera and a light source behind me. So that ended up not being a ghost when we reviewed the footage with a skeptical mind. However, some of my paranormal experiences aren't as easy to explain away. Like my first two that I experienced in life at the house that I grew up in. My house growing up was located in Garland, Texas, and was constructed in the mid-1980s, and just like most of Texas, my house was built upon ancient Caddo Native American land, which may be where some of the hauntings I'm about to talk about came from. My very first paranormal experience happened in this kitchen right here, and it centers around this sink right here, and I've always told this story to friends, and I call it the fan and sink incident. Now this all happened in the middle of a bright sunny day where I walked into the kitchen and suddenly a bean flew out of the garbage disposal. Now the garbage disposal hadn't been on all day, so it was really odd when the bean flew out and flew right at me. I dodged it, and then what happened next was really weird. I heard a huge crash back in my bedroom and no one else was home. Now we are in the room that I grew up sleeping in, and this is where I heard the big crash. So I came as quickly as I could to come investigate. As soon as I walked in, I noticed that my fan that had been in the window for years and had never been moved had flown halfway across the room. My second paranormal experience happened right here in this closet. I always left this closet door open because it kind of doubled as a little library for me and also a music studio. On this particular day, I believe it was around 2006 to 2007, I was sitting and writing a book at my desk when something really weird happened. In the middle of writing, I heard a metal clanking together sound, and then when I looked over my shoulder to the left, I saw a belt of mine swinging violently back and forth. The belt had been untouched for at least a couple hours since I hadn't even been in my closet, and its sudden movement was extremely odd. The following year, my next paranormal experience occurred, and it was by far the scariest and most profound paranormal experience that I have ever had. The Caddo Mills incident, or that's what my friends and I called it, will forever be the kickoff point for my interest in ghosts and the paranormal. Back in 2007, my friends and I traveled out to Caddo Mills, which is a little town about 40 minutes outside of downtown Dallas, and we went there with a local guide who was someone who lived there in the town. We stopped at his house first, gathered our stuff together, and drove towards the spot. Now, his telling of the history of this spot included ghost sightings and demonic rituals, typical stories associated with these types of places. We arrived at this really dilapidated structure that looked something straight out of a horror movie. We all got out of the truck we were in with flashlights, and I was carrying a Sony digital camcorder in my hand. We approached the opening pretty cautiously. A few seconds in, we heard something in front of us move. We all stopped, and this is where it got really spooky. Something we couldn't see began running towards us. On film, you could see dirt being kicked up and hear what sounds to be swipes in the dirt, though it was really hard to see. Side note, I've tried everything in my power to locate that footage that we took that night, but sadly, tapes were kind of a commodity back then to us because we didn't have much money, so we would constantly re-record over tapes. Now, if I ever end up finding that footage, I promise I will post it to YouTube. After this moment, something in me had to learn and explore the idea of ghosts more, so I began to officially investigate the paranormal in 2007. And over the next 5 years, my friends and I went into a lot of reportedly haunted places, read a ton of books on the subject, and conducted all kinds of experiments including pictures, video, white noise, Ouija boards, and so much more. But I wouldn't have my next paranormal encounter until 2015, 3 years after giving up on ghost hunting. At that time, my friend James and I decided to explore some storm drain tunnels I had seen long before this while skating nearby, but had never actually explored. These tunnels are underneath what used to be Collin Creek Mall in Plano, Texas, and stretched from the back of Big Lots all the way to Plano Parkway. As another side note, I actually have a really crazy backstory to these tunnels and the mall that sits above it, or what used to be a mall, which I'm going to talk about in depth in a full-length documentary that I'm going to put out on Halloween this year in 2023. Go and check that out. I'll leave it in the description below once that video comes out, but let's get back to 2015. Oh, what's this? After about 25 minutes of exploring the tunnels, we came upon a room-like area that looked as if it was straight out of a horror movie. After another 5 minutes, we proceeded down another random tunnel, which is where our paranormal experience took place. After rounding a bend, we suddenly heard voices. It sounded as if to be two people, maybe three, conversing about 20 feet ahead. The tunnel is pretty straight at this point, by the way, so we shined our flashlights and could see absolutely nothing. Fast forward 6 years later, and I decided to go into these tunnels alone for a YouTube video. However, I ended up experiencing something that was very strange, but it wasn't on the adventure itself. It was actually when I got to editing it. We're almost to the room with the bloody handprints. It's one of the coolest tunnels in the world. So for this next part of the video, let's head over to a cemetery, a little town called Idaho Springs, if you know of it, and I'm gonna go meet up with my friend Sean to perform a ghost hunt. The first ghost hunt that I've done in over a decade. All right, guys, I'm out here with the amazing Sean Murphy.
What's up, guys?
If you haven't checked out his YouTube, I will put it all down in the description below. But today, him and I are gonna be checking out the Idaho Springs Cemetery on my first ghost hunt back in, well, a very long time, as you saw from that first part of the video. We're gonna see if there's any ghosts out here.
Yeah, hopefully not.
We are gonna do a test though. We're not gonna be using like any kind of EMF readers or anything phony like that. We are, however, going to rely on the camera itself, and then also I have a separate audio recorder that we're gonna set be quiet around certain parts of the cemetery and check out to see if there are, in fact, ghost voices that we pick up. And of course, we might not know that they're on there, but you guys will, because I'll edit it into the video.
The reality of what we are actually doing, because he did a video on my channel a little while ago. He's like, hey, do you want to shoot this video? And I actually don't like the idea of ghosts. This is actually now terrifying to me.
See, but that might make it better.
Right, I'm sure it's gonna be great, but
Let's get in there. Let's find some ghosts to scare Sean. So we're about to head in, but as you can see up here on the sign, almost looks like a map of like the Hogwarts Legacy game or something, but you've got like Upper Pottersfield, Lower Pottersfield, Golden Hill, Silverdale. So it's like broken up into little sections. Almost in every section, we're gonna do some sort of voice recording and we'll see if we can detect any ghosts. I always like to imagine that the ghosts in the graveyard at night all hang out here in the gazebos. I'm sure they probably do. So I was trying to pull up a map of this place so I could tell like what sections we're going into as we go through them, and my phone already froze. So is it a ghost or is it just crappy iPhone?
I think it's mountain Wi-Fi.
It's probably mountain Wi-Fi.
I'm gonna be just smacking down all your ideas all day.
So the first section that you come on is the South Flats and the North Flats. Here in the first section, we're gonna go ahead and do a voice recording just to see if we hear anything on the audio, and I'll of course play it on here if I hear anything.
Maybe it's a sign. Maybe it's a spirit, the person that lives.
First recording in. We're kind of like in the newer section of the graveyard, so I don't know that we're actually gonna get anybody here. They maybe haven't escaped into our earthly realm yet. Maybe they're still battling it out in purgatory, who knows?
Sure.
First question up. What does it feel like to die? If anyone's here, can you tell me what your name is? Is it scary to die? All right, that's enough for this little section. All right, what was your question?
So I was telling you a story and then asking a question because I asked a girl what her ideal way to die would be, and it can't be dying in your sleep. And then what would be the worst way to die? So I want to know what yours is.
Ooh, so it's what way I would prefer to die.
But yeah, you can't be in your sleep. Everybody would prefer to go that way.
Right, right. I think if I had to die anyway, I would probably want to die in the way that all those people died in the sub at the bottom of the ocean. Just an implosion that's like a split second. You don't even know it's there. Maybe it's gone. But my other answer to that too would be, maybe it would be like a slow death that's like way less painful than normal. Because then because if you just die, you don't really get to hear from the people that, you know, you care about most to see like how they feel about you. Like maybe they hate you or maybe they like you. Like they'll be able to air their grievances or tell you how much, you know, whatever it is that they feel about you. And they'll be able to do that if they know you're dying because you know you're dying. So I'm not really sure. One or the other. How would you?
For me, similar to you, drowning would be terrible only because you're like gonna struggle. But if I could get like passed out or like slowly run out of air, I think your brain would just kind of like fade off. The way that people went in the Titanic sub,
yeah,
ideal.
So we're starting to get to some older graves. Like this one died in 1886. That means, dang, I was born in 1987, so 101 years. We've got like a good like ominous rain that's happening right now as well. It's just like really light.
John Joseph had to bury his daughter and his niece.
Oh, let's see if we can talk to him. Joseph, that's a name that we both share. That's my middle name. That's the J in Eric J. Coons. Joseph, what was it like living in the time that you lived in? John or Sarah, if you're listening, are you at peace now? Anne, how'd you die, Anne? That'll conclude my conversation with the Joseph family.
This family, the youngest born died at age 9. And this one died 1 month later. And then their eldest daughter on the far end there lived to be 30 years old.
And then mother, I guess we don't know when mother died. Seems like you have a pretty good connection to this family. I'm thinking maybe you should ask the questions this time. I'm gonna let Sean ask whatever questions he wants to. And you can use their names too if you wanna maybe get a little bit more connected.
How did Emma and Philip die? Are you guys happy or are you sad? That's all. Cool, all right, I think that's enough questions from Sean. Very surface level. I wish you guys well, and I hope you stay right here and don't follow me.
You want to walk up that way or you want to continue down this way?
We can go up and then go
do a full
down.
circle?
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a cool grave.
40 years old.
People used to live such short lifespans. It's so crazy how most of these people didn't live past like 40 or 50. This is a really cool looking gravestone. It's got the little lamb on top of it. Oh, our dear little boy. So it was a young boy. He was only 8 months old when he died. I wonder if when a baby dies, if there is an afterlife, if they grow up to be more cognizant or if they just sort of stay in that lull of being 8 months old. Guess it's worth asking, right? Roy Albert, are you able to think clearly as an adult or as a teenager or even as a kid after dying? Is there anyone related to Roy Albert that wants to say anything? Thanks, Roy Albert, and son of R.E. and M. Wood.
A lot of kids in here.
I was just talking about that, how it's crazy how there were so many babies and kids that didn't even make it out of adolescence. Oh my God, why did they just get sticks?
I don't know, but actually, what the hell do you want?
That's true. What does it even matter? I feel like I had a dream about being in this graveyard, like just this scene.
Really?
Yeah, like the trees and like, it's really weird. It's like a weird feeling here, like I've been here before. Are we having an existential crisis right now in the middle of a graveyard in Idaho Springs, Colorado?
We're asking all the right questions.
I think so too. Imagine we found our own graves here, right now.
It is like the last date was today.
After doing about 5 or 6 more voice recordings on various parts of the cemetery, including one section called the Titanic, which had the gravestone of a man named Shadrach who had died on the Titanic itself, we quickly realized after listening to those recordings back that the surrounding area was filled with way too much noise during the day, and it was interfering with our voice recordings. So after losing Sean at one point and finally locating him on the other side of the graveyard, we decided to go grab dinner in downtown Idaho Springs and return at night when it was much quieter. All right, so we are back at nighttime to the graveyard, and it's kind of weird because there's like little lanterns and lights all around the graveyard that just seem to kind of like flicker. So we're gonna find a place to sit and try to talk to some of these spirits at nighttime. Take my headlamp off as well. If we didn't get anything earlier, now is probably gonna be the best time to get it. Spirits are generally like, you know, more awake at night, from what everything has told us, literature, movies, TV, whatever. Let me start a recording here. It's a lot better at this time too to do a recording because it's a lot quieter.
Super stoked about this.
Yeah.
Is there anyone walking these cemetery grounds that's with us tonight? If there's anyone here with us, can you give us some sign?
Again, if you didn't hear it, if anything's out there and they want to let their presence be known,
That's a better way to say it.
let us know in some way.
So Eric believes that you guys all come up and hang out in the evening once you've made it through your transition from the ground.
It's a working theory.
I think it's better than... I can't say you're wrong. Right? So if there is a gathering, would one of you come by and let your presence be known?
It's weird, I get this like weird feeling of like a feeling like behind the camera, like that way. I don't know why. But if there is anything off that way behind the camera, will you in some way make your presence known?
You just drove off.
All right, we're gonna move this to another bench. We'll do one more bench to see. Oh, this is the bench I was looking at earlier that I wanted to sit at. Perfect. This is what it looks like all around. All right,
Have a seat.
Oh. We're in the older section of the graveyard, a lot closer to where the Titanic grave that we showed you earlier was at, and just a lot more of the 1800s type graves. So I'm gonna ask a few more questions. First one being, I don't know if this is insensitive, but what does it feel like to have been dead for so long?
I've got a question. Any advice for the living now that you've passed on?
Oh, that's a good one. Alright, I feel like if there's any ghosts that wanted to talk, I'm sure. If you have any other questions.
No, I feel good about that.
Yeah, you feel good about that.
I think we did good.
Yeah. So, back to the question posed at the very beginning of this video. Do ghosts even exist? Well, I have no idea. I was hoping that by the end of making this video, I would be able to lean left or right, but it ends up that I'm still just as confused as I was before. Now, obviously, I experienced some weird stuff at my house and at that barn out in Caddo Mills and all those different weird places, but all of them could possibly be explained away. And listening back to the audio from when I went to the Idaho Springs trip with Sean, I don't know if the yes I got was actually a yes from a ghost or if it was just an auditory illusion. What I do know though is that I'm still interested in the idea of ghosts, and I may not take a very active approach going forward for looking for ghosts, but I'm still open to seeing them. I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments of whether or not you believe in ghosts, or if you've ever had a ghost encounter, or if you think all of this is just stupid. At the end of the day though, I always wonder, is someone like Carl Sagan correct with the demon haunted world, basically saying that ghosts really don't exist and they're all figments of our imagination? Or will it end up that ghosts do exist and they're just really hard to catch evidence of? I think whether or not you believe in ghosts or you don't, I think we can both agree that I definitely failed at being a paranormal investigator.
You know something? You suck.
I want to give a huge shout out to Sean for helping me out with this video and coming out and doing one of my stupid ideas. I hope that he'll do another one with me. If you want to go and check out his YouTube, which you totally should, I'm going to leave all of his info down below. He has got all sorts of cool stuff about real estate and a bunch of stuff about Colorado, and he's even done a ghost walkthrough of a park here that is famously haunted here in Denver, Colorado. So go and check out his YouTube right now. And really quick, I just wanted to mention, I do have a full-length documentary on the tunnels that I featured in this video, and it's gonna be all about Collin Creek's history. It's a dead mall in Plano, Texas that I used to frequent all the time with my friends, and I know a lot of people out there loved that mall and they did as well. So that full documentary about the mall itself and the haunted tunnels underneath with a brand new adventure that I just got back from, and I'm super excited to show you guys because it was pretty crazy. That comes out on Halloween 2023, so here in a few weeks. I'll see you guys in the next video. Please hit that subscribe button if you liked it, and I'm also going to leave the full video of me exploring those tunnels alone right up here so you can go and check it out. I'm Eric J. Coons. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.